Tonight, there is breaking news as we come on the air. The pictures coming in right now. There's been a deadly shooting at a target, multiple people dead. Also, a major explosion at a U.S. steel plant. It's been deadly. There is a search right now. And the small plane coming in for landing, careening off the runway, crashing into multiple planes, flames shooting in the air. First tonight, this deadly shooting late today outside a Target in Austin. Police racing to the scene, what we've learned about the victims at this hour. Also, emergency crews on the scene of that deadly steel plant explosion outside Pittsburgh. It's been deadly, and there's a search right now for the missing. We're on the scene. Also just in, the small plane coming in for landing, going right off that runway, crashing into multiple planes, what we've learned. Tonight, just 4 days before the high-stakes summit, President Trump and Vladimir Putin. Tonight, what the president now says he'll say to Putin, and what President Trump said when asked about President Zelensky not being there, and the future of Ukraine. Mark the Raddatz standing by. Tonight, President Trump ordering the National Guard to take over policing in the nation's capital. Tonight, the mayor of Washington pushing back with the crime stats and what they actually show. Tonight, could this be the first hurricane in the Atlantic? The tropical storm now set to become a hurricane, and the potential tracks tonight. Some bringing it very close to the East Coast. Ginger Z is here. An Israeli airstrike killing 6 journalists in Gaza, and what Israel is now claiming about one of the journalists. The scare in the water, a 75-foot passenger boat running aground in rough seas. The victory celebration cut short. The NASCAR driver badly injured when he suddenly fell off his car after victory. There's news tonight about the death of Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband, the father of her children, the cause of death revealed. At America Strong tonight, the 100-year-old World War II pilot back in the air tonight. You've got to see it.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Monday night. We do begin tonight with the breaking news coming in now. There's been a deadly shooting at a Target. Multiple people dead. This happened outside a Target in Austin, Texas. The shooter then leading police on a chase across the city. The Target on the north side of Austin just a week before school starts there. Families and their back-to-school shopping underway. 911 calls of an active shooter coming in just before 3 p.m. local time. Officers flooding the scene. Stunned shoppers escorted through that parking lot right there. Tonight, what we have learned, the suspect is now in custody, and what we know about the victims. ABC's Matt Gutman leading us off tonight.
Tonight, 3 people pronounced dead after a shooting outside this Target in North Austin and a wild chase across the city involving at least 2 carjackings. The incident unfolding this afternoon amid a slew of 911 calls.
The suspect is armed and has shot multiple people.
Just before 3 p.m. local time, social media showing a massive response at this Target just a week before the school year resumes in Austin.
I hear on the radio, shots fired. So then, they just told us active shooter.
When officers arrived, they were met with 3 people that were shot inside the parking lot of Target.
By then, the suspect had already fled.
It was in the Target parking lot where the first car was taken. The first car crashed. The subject then ran into, I believe it was a Volkswagen dealership to take another car.
Police apparently losing track of the suspect until a bystander in South Austin called police for assistance nearly an hour later and clear on the other side of the Texas Capitol. And David, police say they're still investigating the motive for this shooting. Now, they say that this was a 32-year-old white male suspect with a rap sheet and a history of mental health issues. David.
And just days before the school year starts with so many families there shopping. Matt Gutman leading us off tonight. Matt, thank you. We are also following a deadly explosion at a U.S. steel plant south of Pittsburgh, killing 1 worker, injuring at least 10 others. Tonight here, a time lapse of the surveillance video that actually captured the blast right there. Witnesses describing a very loud boom, the smoke triggering air quality concerns tonight. The explosion inside the facility ripping through a wall. You can see that charred pickup truck. At least 1 person still unaccounted for at this hour. There is a search underway right now. Stephanie Ramos is on the scene outside Pittsburgh tonight.
Tonight, authorities urgently searching through the rubble at this U.S. steel plant south of Pittsburgh after an explosion ripped through the facility, killing at least 1 person and leaving another unaccounted for.
Reported explosion with multiple injuries.
There's possible entrapment under the rubble.
10 others injured, including 1 person officials say they recovered alive from under the debris.
Our efforts are very focused on rescue at this point.
Time-lapse video capturing the blast at the Clairton Coke Works plant shortly before 11 a.m.
It sounded like a really big bang, and then there was big black smoke.
Nearby residents advised to stay inside because of air quality concerns.
The concern is for folks who have asthma or some kind of pre-existing condition, and also for children.
Earlier today, Tricia Quinn telling reporters her brother Timothy, a father of 3, was working at the plant.
He has 3 kids that are messaging me every 2 minutes, and we need answers.
Her worst fears tragically realized. Telling our affiliate WWII late today, Timothy was the victim who lost his life. And David, authorities are still here on the scene. Earlier this year, 2 workers at this same plant were injured after a buildup of combustible material ignited. In a statement today, U.S. Steel says they are investigating this incident and that employees' safety is its top priority. David.
Stephanie Ramos just outside Pittsburgh for us tonight on the scene. Steph, thank you. Also just in tonight, the images of a small plane coming in for landing in Montana, going right off the runway and then crashing into multiple planes. Here's ABC's Trevor Ault.
Tonight, a dramatic scene on a Montana runway after officials say a small plane collided into another aircraft shortly after landing.
There is a 2-plane crash at the Kalispell Municipal Runway.
And we do have 2 planes on fire at this time.
Thick black smoke rising above Kalispell, Montana. You can see a large fire stretching down this part of the runway. The fire chief tells ABC News a single-engine plane with 4 passengers on board crash-landed at Kalispell City Airport and careened off the runway, striking an unoccupied small single-engine plane and several others. Miles Terry was eating lunch nearby and saw the plane flying in.
I was watching a plane fly in, and then a few seconds later I saw an explosion.
David, 2 passengers were treated for minor injuries, and somehow several others walked away unharmed. The FAA is now investigating. David.
Trevor Ault with these late images coming in. Trevor, thank you. Tonight, just 4 days now before the high-stakes summit, President Trump and Vladimir Putin. And this evening here, what the president now says he'll say to Putin, and what President Trump said today when asked about President Zelensky not being there and the future of Ukraine. Here's Martha Raddatz tonight.
Tonight, with the historic summit in Alaska just days away, President Trump seemingly downplaying what could come of it. But tonight saying his message to the Russian president will be clear.
I'm going in to speak to Vladimir Putin. And I'm going to be telling him, you got to end this war. You got to end it.
The president, though, lowering expectations.
This is really a feel-out meeting, a little bit.
While Ukraine's President Zelensky has insisted he will not trade territory for peace, President Trump said again today there will be land swaps. 3 years after the Russian invasion, this is the Ukrainian land the Russians now control. The question is, will President Trump agree with Putin, who believes that land is now his? The future of Ukraine will likely be discussed by just Trump and Putin without Zelensky in the room.
Volodymyr Zelensky is not invited on Friday?
He wasn't a part of it. I would say he could go, but he's gone to a lot of meetings. You know, he's been there for 3.5 years. Nothing happened.
But it was Putin who invaded Ukraine, and he'll be at the table with President Trump. Tonight, Trump vowing to call Zelensky first after his face-to-face with Putin.
I'm going to meet with President Putin, and we're going to see what he has in mind. And if it's a fair deal, I'll reveal it to the European Union leaders and to the NATO leaders, and also to President Zelensky. I think out of respect, I'll call him first. And then I'll call them after. And I may say, lots of luck, keep fighting, or I may say we can make a deal.
So let's bring in Martha Raddatz with us live tonight. Martha, the location of this summit in Alaska is also an interesting choice, obviously, given the history here between the U.S. and Russia involving Alaska. And as you point out tonight, this will be just President Trump and Vladimir Putin. President Zelensky will get a phone call after.
Well, David, the location for the summit is interesting. The U.S. purchased Alaska from Russia in 1867. And, David, President Trump had wanted Zelensky at the meeting. It was Putin who nixed the idea. But President Trump said he is still hopeful the 3 can meet in the future. And again, he has promised that his first call after the meeting will be to Zelensky. David?
Martha Raddatz, who will be on the air with me here on Friday covering this summit. We'll look forward to that, Martha. I'll see you then. In the meantime, we turn to Washington, D.C. now, where President Trump has ordered the National Guard to take over policing in the nation's capital. Tonight, the mayor there pushing back with the crime stats and what they actually show. Here's Mary Bruce.
For the first time in American history, the president seizing control of the police in the nation's capital and deploying hundreds of National Guardsmen. Trump says to fight crime on the streets of Washington, D.C.
I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back.
President Trump declaring a public safety emergency in D.C., painting an apocalyptic picture, adamant crime is spiraling out of control. But his depiction stands in stark contrast to the official figures, which show crime in the capital is actually in decline. Violent crime recently hitting a 30-year low, down 26% since last year. Burglary down 19%, murder down 12%. Still, the president said today the D.C. police will now be able to do whatever they want.
They're standing there and people are spitting in their face and they're not allowed to do anything. But now they are allowed to do whatever the hell they want.
Mayor Muriel Bowser today acknowledging her hands are tied. D.C. is not a state, and the president does have the authority to take over the city's police department.
While this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised.
The president has shown an eagerness to use military force in major cities. Earlier this summer, sending 4,000 National Guard troops and 700 Marines to quell immigration protests in Los Angeles. And tonight, he's threatening to do this to other cities, saying the model in Washington, D.C. could be used to combat crime in cities like Chicago, Oakland, and Baltimore, all cities notably in Democratic-led states.
We're not going to lose our cities over this, and this will go further.
So let's bring in Mary Bruce. You heard him say this could go further. So, Mary, how soon could we see National Guard troops on the streets of the Capitol? Any idea for how long? And, of course, that threat to do this to other cities as well.
Well, David, 800 National Guard troops are now being called up. They will be on hand in the coming week, we're told, working on a rotating basis to support law enforcement. It's not clear how long they will be on the streets of this city, but the president has said he's willing to go even further and bring in additional military forces if needed. David.
Mary Bruce, who, of course, will continue to follow this. Mary, thanks. Next tonight, Tropical Storm Erin. We're watching it closely. Will it become the first hurricane in the Atlantic? The potential tracks right here tonight, and, of course, some of them bring them very close to the East Coast. So, of course, let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z's been studying the models already. Ginger, what do they show?
Hi, David. Tropical Storm Erin is way out there in the Atlantic, but it's cruising west at 21 miles per hour. By Saturday, it does look like it won't only just be a hurricane, but a major hurricane potentially, north and east of the Caribbean. Now, this is the potential track that takes it between Bermuda and the United States, and we have it that way because 90% of the computer modeling right now, the spaghetti plots, have it curving away. It's driven in part by that high pressure system that we look this time of year for to steer these currents, but also the cold front. So if it squeezes between the two, that would be the best and most ideal situation away from most land. We're going to be watching really carefully, though, because every little deviation west or east will make a big difference. The other big headline, daily record high temperatures possible tomorrow from Burlington right up to Caribou, Maine. David.
Yeah, the potential for another heat wave now. Ginger, thank you. We'll see you on GMA in the morning. Next tonight, we turn overseas. An Israeli airstrike has killed 6 journalists in Gaza, and what Israel is now claiming about one of the journalists. Many asking, where is the proof? Here's our chief international correspondent, James Longman, tonight.
As Israel prepares for a military occupation of Gaza City, it's facing growing condemnation tonight for the targeted strike on a group of Palestinian journalists in their tent outside a hospital. Allahu Akbar. Emotional funerals today to remember prominent Al Jazeera news correspondent Anas Al Sharif, 4 of his colleagues and another freelancer. Al Sharif's press vest laid on top of his body as he's carried through the streets. Israel has defended the strike, calling Al Sharif a terrorist who helped Hamas launch rocket attacks. But Al Jazeera and the Committee to Protect Journalists say they have no proof.
Israel is being allowed
to tell us that it's murdering journalists and to get away with it.
Al Sharif, who had a young family, gained millions of followers online documenting the war, while Israel bars international journalists from Gaza. He's the 184th journalist killed there by Israel since the war began. This as the IDF launches new strikes into Gaza, and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu defends his controversial plan to occupy Gaza City.
Israel has no choice but to finish the job and complete the defeat of Hamas.
And David, Donald Trump has stopped short of endorsing that occupation plan, but he has repeated tonight that Hamas must leave Gaza. David?
James Longman reporting from London tonight. James, thank you. Back here in the U.S. tonight, a federal judge has denied the Trump administration's motion to release grand jury testimony from the criminal case against Jeffrey Epstein co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell. In a scathing rebuke, the judge saying there's nothing in that testimony that isn't already public, suggesting the administration's request might be an intentional diversion and an illusion of transparency, according to that judge. Tonight, the CDC telling its staff the Atlanta shooting that killed a police officer and damaged a number of its buildings on Friday was a, quote, targeted attack. Police say a 30-year-old Georgia man, Patrick Joseph White, blamed the COVID-19 vaccine for making him sick and depressed. He died during his attack. More than 10,000 CDC employees nationwide told to work from home for now as officials assess any further threat. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a vaccine skeptic, met with CDC leaders at its headquarters today. When we come back here tonight, the victory celebration cut short. The NASCAR star badly injured after a major win when he fell off of his car, and you'll see it here. Also, the scare in the water tonight. Surfers told to clear the way. A 75-foot passenger boat right there. This is incredible, running aground in rough seas. And there's news tonight about the death of Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband, the father of her children. The cause of death now revealed in a moment here. Tonight here, harrowing images showing a scare in the waters off Honolulu. A 75-foot passenger boat caught in rough waves, running aground. The Coast Guard clearing the area near Kewalo Basin Harbor. Surfers, swimmers, boaters all told to keep their distance. Witnesses say they thought the boat was going to capsize. There were 2 people on board. They were not hurt in this. Well, a difficult moment tonight for a NASCAR star. Short-lived celebration for NASCAR driver Connor Zilisch, a 19-year-old rising star. He was standing on his car in Victory Lane right there after his big win at Watkins Glen International. You see he lost his footing, falling to the ground. He broke his collarbone. His next scheduled race is in 2 weeks. There's no word yet tonight on when he'll return. We wish him a speedy recovery. When we come back here tonight, there's news this evening about the death of Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband, the father of her children. The cause of death now revealed. And you have to see this tonight. A 100-year-old World War II pilot back in the sky tonight, and his message for all of you at home watching. To the index, the cause of death revealed for Kelly Clarkson's ex-husband, Brandon Blackstock, the father of her children. The coroner's report showing he died from melanoma, a form of skin cancer. He was her manager after she won American Idol. He died at home in Montana, surrounded by family. The family saying he bravely battled cancer for more than 3 years. Clarkson postponing her Las Vegas residency to be with their children. When we come back here tonight, the 100-year-old World War II pilot back in the sky with a message for all of you at home tonight.
ABC World News Tonight with David Muir, sponsored by Progressive.
Finally tonight here, the World War II pilot taking flight again. America strong. Tonight in McKinleyville, California, the extraordinary honor for a World War II fighter pilot back in the air, back in a fighter plane once again. Retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Joe Peterbers flew the famed P-51 Mustangs during combat.
Mustangs coming in at 8 o'clock.
Enlisting at 18 years old back in 1942, he'd earn his pilot wings, becoming a second lieutenant. He would fly 49 combat missions during the war, including one where he was captured by the Germans after being forced to eject. He would eventually escape.
The Mustangs, far in the distance, sweep the surrounding sky as they come in.
He would go on to serve in the Korean War, flying 76 combat missions, serving throughout the Cold War in Vietnam, retiring as a colonel in 1969. And tonight, at 100 years old, Colonel Peterbers and the new recognition. The retired colonel climbing back into a P-51 Mustang, the same type of plane he flew for more than 125 missions, all thanks to the nonprofit Rumble Over the Redwoods. The pilot taking the colonel up in the air, rolling the Mustang, waving from high in the air back in the sky once again, and right here tonight.
Good evening, David.
Retired Air Force Colonel Peterbers back on the ground and thankful for that ride.
It was a really exhilarating experience and brought back a lot of memories.
Tonight, the World War II fighter pilot honored and his message to the next generation.
To maintain what we have today, you got to do your best. Do your best in whatever you endeavor. And I wish you a lot of luck.
Well, we salute you, Colonel Joe. I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. And now, ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the third year in a row.